was begging for a meeting. They were begging for meetings constantly, and Chairman Kim would not meet with him. And for some reason, we have a certain chemistry or whatever. Now, let's see what happens. We have a long way to go, but I'm in no rush. The sanctions are on, and I'm in no rush. I'm in no rush with Iran. I'm never in a rush. If you're in a rush, you get yourself in trouble. So I just want to say that we're going to be heading out to the DMZ, and something I planned long ago, but had the idea yesterday to maybe say hello. Just shake hands quickly and say hello, because we haven't seen each other since Vietnam. We had a great meeting in Vietnam. People don't realize it. It's all part of the whole negotiation. But we had actually a great meeting in Vietnam. We had a great meeting in Singapore. Everyone gave us praise for Singapore and not for Vietnam. I think, frankly, the meeting in Vietnam, in terms of a deal, was more important than Singapore. So I think what I'd like to do is we'll take one or two questions, as I understand it, and then I'm going to head out to the DMZ and pay my respects to everybody, including some soldiers. We have tremendous military here in South Korea, and we're going to see some of our great American soldiers. We'll be talking to them, and I'll be seeing Kim Jong Un. And if you would, you could start with a question. Thank you.
네, 감사합니다. 자, 그러면 지금부터 기자 여러분들의 질문을 받겠습니다. 무척 바쁜 날이다 보니 한 분씩 지명을 받아서 질문을 진행하겠습니다. 순서는 먼저 청와대 기자께서 질문 주시면 문재인 대통령께서 답변 주시고요. 백악관 기자 한 분 질문 주시면 트럼프 대통령께서 답변 주시는 순으로 진행하겠습니다. 질의응답은 순차 통역으로 진행되니까요. 이어폰은 안 쓰셔도 될 것 같습니다. 자, 그럼 먼저 청와대 기자부터 질문을 받겠습니다. 네, 저쪽 CBS 박지환 기자 질문해 주시죠.
네, CBS 박지환입니다. 트럼프 대통령의 두 번째 한국 방문을 진심으로 환영합니다. 문 대통령님께 질문드리겠습니다. 대통령님께서는 조금 전 오전에 소인수 정상회담에서
All right, so this is the joint press briefing by US President Donald Trump and also South Korean President Moon Jae-in. So Donald Trump has stated that he will be meeting with Kim Jong Un at the demilitarized zone between the two Koreas. And this, of course, is a sort of a unprecedented meeting that comes after Donald Trump had issued what was described as a spontaneous invitation for Kim Jong Un to join him on his visit. Now, this, of course, is a very significant one. This comes in the backdrop of the many events that have been happening over the course of the last few months after the breakdown at the Hanoi summit that was seen. It was expected that the North Korean and the US talks may actually go off the rails, but that is not happening. And what we are looking at is a rare reach out by a US president to the leader of North Korea to try and resolve this crisis, the North Korean crisis, and also the denuclearization process that North Korea has embarked upon ever since the Singapore summit that was held last June. Now, an extremely significant visit. We expect Donald Trump and Kim Jong Un to, in fact, meet at the demilitarized zones between the two Koreas. And this, of course, will be a huge symbolic moment. It also is there for the photo opportunity for the two leaders, but also goes on to show that despite the breakdown at the Hanoi summit, the process of denuclearization, the process of, in fact, trying to establish peace on the Korean peninsula and also to try get North Korea to go ahead with its denuclearization process is something that will remain on board. And also, we just heard a little while back President Donald Trump there addressing the media gathering, stating that this of course is an important and a historic opportunity for the nations to go forth and create in many ways new paths to try and overcome what has been an extremely difficult period of time on the Korean peninsula. And this is also an attempt to try and hasten the process of carrying out the process of denuclearization. But it now remains to be seen whether this just remains a photo opportunity or is there something more to it? Because the North Korean position is fairly clear. They've stated that they will not carry forth with any further nuclear testing, but in return they want the American sanctions to be lifted. Now, the reason as to why the Hanoi talks between Donald Trump and Kim Jong Un, remember, they broke down effectively because America was not willing to make any concessions in terms of taking off the sanctions. This was a position that was not liked by the North Korean leader, who was insisting that now that North Korea on its side of the bargain had ceased carrying out any kind of nuclear testing, they wanted that they should be given some relief. It now remains to be seen at this photo opportunity, will President Trump meet Kim Jong Un with more concessions? That of course is something that needs to be looked at, but this in many ways is an unprecedented kind of a photo opportunity that we're looking at. It's a visit that smacks of symbolism. It is an important one, and at the end of the day, one also will need to look at as to what concrete outcomes will come forth of this visit by President Trump at the demilitarized zone. So let's actually listen into what US President Donald Trump had to say about his visit to the demilitarized zone that he's expected to embark upon in some time from now.
Chairman Kim, I look forward to it very much. I look forward to seeing him. We've developed a very good relationship, and we understand each other. I do believe he understands me, and I think I maybe understand him. And sometimes that can lead to very good things. I want to start by just thanking President Moon, and very importantly, First Lady Moon, who's a very special woman, very special spirit. She loves your country very much, as does President Moon. And we had a great dinner last night together and spent a large part of the morning discussing lots of different things, including trade and military, frankly, and many other items. But I thought I would just mention that when we came here, our great ambassador, we arrived last night, our great ambassador, who's here someplace, Harry, was talking about the turmoil going on because of the level of, there was the vitriol, level of vitriol that was happening between North and South, but it was North to a large extent where there was a lot of risk and a lot of threat and a lot of bad things were happening. That was before I became president. And as you know, and the media knows very well, because they covered it, frankly, very well and very fairly, at the beginning there was a lot of anger between myself and Kim Jong Un, who, since something happened, there was a point at which it happened and all of a sudden we got along. And I figured that when I was in Japan, where they hosted a fantastic G20, and I want to just thank Prime Minister Abe, because they did a fantastic job, and a lot of good things came out of that, a lot of good meetings with other countries, I can tell you from the standpoint of the United States. But we decided to come here a while ago as part of going to the G20. I promised President Moon. And then yesterday I was just thinking, hey, I'm here. Let's see whether or not we can say hello to Kim Jong Un. And I put out the word, and he got back, and he wanted to do it from the beginning, and so did I. But there's a lot of good feeling, when sometimes the media will say, gee, what's happened? Well, they know what's happened. What's happened is there was nuclear testing, there was ballistic missile testing, they had hostages of ours, as you know, very tough situation. And now we're getting back our remains. We got back the hostages. There's been no ballistic missile tests, and there's been no nuclear tests. And South Korea is a whole different place. And Japan, Prime Minister Abe was telling me, Japan is a whole different place. They had missiles going over Japan on a very constant basis. You know that very well. So I hate to hear the media, give false information to the public when they say, oh, what's been done? What's been done? A lot's been done. And there's also a good feeling. I can tell you on behalf of President Moon, he feels much better about even Chairman Kim. I mean, he feels much better. They couldn't have meetings. Nobody was going to meet.
All right, so this effectively is what President Trump said, that ever since the Singapore summit that was held in June last year, there's a lot that's in fact changed in the region. The nuclear testing and also the missile testing has stopped, and this has of course gone on to make the region a lot more peaceful. Let's also now listen to some of the question and answer sessions that are taking place at the press briefing.
Back in November, back at the beginning of the process.
So and two very distinct questions. Hold it before you do a third.
Also.
I know, you'll do that in a second.
Thanks.
No, we've made tremendous strides. Only the fake news says that they weren't. If you look again, I don't have to repeat it, but if you look again at where we were 2.5 years ago, and I think I can say the hatred that everybody had for everybody and where it was going, and I said that if President Obama's term was for some reason extended through any method, including having a successor that thought the way that administration thought, you would be right now at war with North Korea. And it wouldn't be pretty, be tough. We have the greatest military in the world, by far. We have a much greater military now than we had 2.5 years ago, as you know very well. You reported on it. We bought tremendous equipment, from jets to ships to equipment for soldiers. But we are in a much different place right now, Margaret, than we were 2.5 years ago, much different. And the previous administration wanted to talk. I would ask people, why aren't they talking? And not everything happens with talk. Some bad things happen with talk, too. But in this case, we are so far advanced from where we were 2.5 years ago that it's always insulting. And I think it's why the press, frankly, has lost such credibility. They've lost such credibility. But to think that we're comparing where we are now to 2.5 years ago is, in a way, it's insulting, but we're doing well. Let's see what happens in the end, but we're doing well. A big difference. And as far as China is concerned, we are where we are. We're collecting 25% on $250 billion, and China is paying for it, as you know, because, as you notice, our inflation hasn't gone up. China's devalued their currency in order to pay for the tariffs. And in addition to devaluing, they've also pumped a lot of money into their economic model. They've been pumping money, and we haven't. We've been retracting. We've been raising interest rates, and they've been lowering interest rates. So we're not playing on a fair field. The Fed has not been of help to us at all. And despite that, we're winning, and we're winning big, because we have created an economy that is second to none, greatest in the world. And one of the things that happened at the G20, in fact, the president came up and said the same thing to President Moon. Congratulations on the economy. What's happened in the last 2.5 years is incredible. It's incredible. If the other thought process would have won the election, we would have, instead of being up 3%, we would have been down 5%, in my opinion. And I think you would have had a stock market crash, because we were heading in that direction. It would have been very, very ugly. Please.